You are listening to episode 49. This episode is brought to you by my new course, How to Dominate LinkedIn with Your Personal Brand. Do you feel like when you're on the LinkedIn platform, you're not really sure how to actually navigate it? Does it feel clunky or confusing? And do you have all these connections, but you're not sure how to really leverage those connections and how to really show up virtually in presenting your personal brand? Well, that is what this course is about. Because since September, I've gone from 1,500 connections to about 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. Not only that, I've gotten clients through my content, and people have actually reached out to me to speak for virtual speaking engagements. So if this is something that you would really like to capitalize on and take advantage of and learn about, then this course is definitely for you. And you can learn about it more in my show notes, and I will have the link to the waitlist just for you. And now on with the show. On today's episode, I get to interview another millennial. His name is Brandon Miranjie, and he is the founder of RCS. And that happens to be a blog that informs college students on how to better manage their finances. And what a time to launch such a blog, right? And so really, it's a cool play on words because as we know, college students are known for being anything but rich. And so today I get to share with you his knowledge, his story, and what really inspired him to create this blog. Also, if you have been listening to my podcast all this time and been enjoying these episodes, I would love if you guys could give me a review and some commentary on Apple Podcasts. That would mean so much. And also would help really bring this podcast to the eyes of more people who could really use the resources. I really appreciate you all, and I would love if you'd also subscribe. And yeah, just let me know how I can better support you through this content. And without further ado, on with the episode. You are listening to the sounds of inspiration. Welcome to the Okiki podcast, where we make inspirational people known. Brought to you by your host, Fian O'Brien. You are listening to the sounds of inspiration. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Okiki podcast. And today I have Brandon Miranjie on the podcast. He's a special guest because he's actually a millennial like myself, and he's really passionate about educating young millennials in the financial space. I think that's something super relevant right now with COVID, with everything going on in the economy, just getting people to think differently about their future. And so his blog is actually called TheRichCollegeStudent. And I'm so pumped to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Yes, hello. So as just explained, I am Brandon, and I write the Rich College Student blog on TheRichCollegeStudent.ca. And I just have a passion for everything finance, and I wanted to share my passion with other people.
So wanted to ask, what has been your educational and I guess like life journey so far that kind of made you think this could be something I can also invest in? I know you're studying currently on college, so I guess you can share that as well.
Yeah. So it all started when I was younger, actually. Everyone would say, I remember in kindergarten, everyone would say, oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a police officer. But my mom was an accountant. And from a very young age, I was like, I want to be an accountant. I want to be involved with money and all these types of things. And that passion grew. And I began to work for my mom and just kind of follow in her footsteps. And then I decided, you know what, this might not be for me, but I want to stick with the same field. So I looked into other parts of finance and I decided to study that in school. And the passion really developed from there. And I started my blog.
That's awesome. And would you say that, did you feel like it was unusual with your peers at the time, the knowledge you had with finance compared to them, given that you had that early exposure to your mom who was really actively working in the field?
I definitely think so. I had a bank account at an early age and I was talking about like debts and like interest, and people would be like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "How do you guys not know this?" But then just talking to other people and learning from my mom, it's not something that's spoken about in school or amongst peers. So I guess I did have that kind of advantage from a young age.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely would have to agree. I remember the first time a family friend was talking to me about finances. I was around 19 and I was like, "What? Why are you talking to me about retirement right now? Like,
Yeah.
I'm 19. Like, I don't have to think about this." And they're like, "No, like you do actually. You have to start now." And it was just really wild to me. So I agree. I don't think it's something we were really taught in school, which is kind of basic, I would think, because it actually applies to your life. In that, when did it kind of become a realization for you that, hey, maybe this is an area I can actually contribute? Like, I'm noticing there's a gap here. Were your peers asking you advice? Was it just you seeing the gap and wanting to fill the need? What really inspired you to start this blog?
So a bit of everything, really. So I guess I would have conversations with my peers in school, and I just found a love for like reading blogs and like personal finance material. And then I thought, why not provide this information to people on a platform that they're able to take in on a week by week basis, starting with the basics and building from there. And yeah, just fill a gap in the market, I believe.
For sure. And who were some of the, I guess, I don't want to use the word influencers because that's
Yeah.
taken in so many different ways nowadays, but who were some of the people that motivated you in this space that you really looked up to and that you read of, other than, of course, your own mom?
Well, yeah, I would have to give a shout out to my mom. That was the first person I was thinking of. Secondly was Ramit Sethi's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He started his blog in college with the kind of same thing about how he wants to help his peers. And I thought that was very like interesting. And I thought I could go down the same route. He has blown up and his success is all over the place. But just providing even to a small market of people the importance of personal finance.
For sure. That's a really unique person that you looked up to because you kind of notice he started somewhere, which is where you're starting as well. Would you say, though, other than him, do you see a lot of individuals like in our age group really teaching about this, like even on a massive level?
I would say no. Like, I don't see very many. I know there's a few notable ones, but I don't think there's a lot of people that are targeting a young audience. I feel like a lot of personal finance books are for people that are older and already have developed wealth, or on the other end of the spectrum, people that have quite a bit of debt and are trying to get out of debt. But what I'm really preaching to is how can we prevent getting into a lot of debt, and how can we live the lifestyle that we want to live, and how can we have a good relationship with our money and eventually build wealth for ourselves.
Great. And when you did launch this blog, what were some of the initiatives you took then to really make that brand known and let people know, especially those that target that you have, like, hey, I have this information, I'm here to serve you.
Yeah, so I started on Instagram. I have Instagram for my page itself, and I kind of announced it on my personal Instagram account. I also talked to a few of my peers, a few of my mom's like business associates, and to pass that message on to the younger people in their lives. And just through word of mouth, really, that I thought the value and quality of my blog would almost speak for itself once people got introduced to it.
Yeah, that's great. And for you, what was one of the most surprising things that has come out of you actually taking that first step to create this blog?
Yeah, so I guess it's a lot of people just reaching out to me with, especially the day I launched it, a lot of people were saying a lot of supportive things and saying, oh, I haven't learned about this and it's very interesting and I'm glad I'm learning about it now rather than later. So that's always great. And just altogether, the overwhelming support from just people around me.
And with your blog, is that like the main type of content you have? Is the writing? Do you have any other plans in the future for different formats of education that you want to share with your audience?
So I just recently launched another page on my blog about RCS videos. So they're just rich college student videos. I try to post those weekly on my Instagram account, and they're just short little tidbits, a minute long. Hoping to get some information out there. But eventually I'd like to branch into more long video content, possibly through YouTube, or I could continue on my website itself. But yeah, some sort of video content would be what's in the near future for my website and blog itself.
For sure. And what would you say then if you were talking to your peers for the audience today? Because I know I have a mixed audience. I believe most of them are older, but actually I've learned that a few college students actually are subscribed to me too, which was really cool to hear. And so what would you say to a college student that's coming to you that's like, okay, I want to talk to you because you're more relatable than, like a Dave Ramsey or something. Where do I start with this journey? What are some tips that you would have for me given what I'm doing with school and with my part-time job to really like start getting into a space where I'm creating wealth for myself?
I guess the main issue that I've come across is for a lot of college students, we work a part-time job or we have to work really hard for each of one of our paychecks, and that money comes into our account and it leaves. What I'm trying to introduce to people is building a relationship with your money. Let's start saving for the things you want to do. Let's spend an appropriate amount on the things you want to enjoy, but let's start building for your future. What I recommend is first starting with an emergency fund, and then we start investing, and then we start looking at the things that you want to do later in life. What's your 5-year plan? Do we want to save up for a big trip? Can we start putting money away every single paycheck for you to be able to enjoy that experience later down the line? So our personal finance journey is from case to case. It depends on how much money you're bringing in, how much money you're starting with, the support you have. But there are a few things that we need to start with, such as an emergency fund.
That's great. And kind of in line with that, what is your vision for this blog in the next 5 years? I feel like it's a really good time to ask that considering it's just launched. So what would be like the dream vision for where you think this can go and what you're hoping it will do?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd love to just impact as many people as I possibly could and just change the narrative around college students being broke, which is the reason for the name of my blog, The Rich College Student, and maybe branch into the idea of writing a book or providing video content. But overall, the main goal is just to affect as many people as possible and help every single one of them in their personal finance journey and building wealth.
Awesome. And kind of in light of the advice you were giving earlier, what are some of the tools you currently use to manage your wealth? And like you said, create like a plan, if you don't mind sharing that as well.
Yeah, totally. So I think one of the main things is that emergency fund, and you want to make that as hard to access as possible with still providing access, right? So if that requires a separate account, it for a lot of people it might, because seeing that money there, you're like, okay, I can go on a trip, I can spend it, but that's not the point of it. Secondly, investing. If you struggle with your finances already, I would recommend a financial advisor. But if you think you can handle it on your own, there's free brokerage apps or ones with very, very little fees attached to them, such as Questrade or things like that. And we want to start investing as soon as possible because the best time to invest was yesterday, but the second best time is right now. So I'd say setting up that emergency fund, investing, and then let's try to save some money for your short-term goals and then your long-term goals, such as a house or maybe a car or whatnot. And I personally do that through managing, I believe I'm up to 4 or 5 accounts now. There's the travel one, there's the one I'm saving for long-term goals, there's my TFSA, my investing one, there's my checking one that I use for my daily purchases. So just managing your money, and again, it's a case-by-case basis based on how much experience you have with your money, first of all, and then how good you are at just handling it.
That's really great. I was hoping you'd elaborate on that because I think some people need to visualize what that actually kind of looks like. As an individual, do you track your books more through like a digital Excel, or are you more of like a notebook person? I always like finding out how different people think in this kind of space as well.
Yeah, so I'm an Excel junkie in that sense. I try not to track my expenses extremely often, but I do review my statements quarterly, add them into an Excel sheet, and just track, okay, am I on targets for this month? I guess I haven't mentioned a budget, but everyone should have a budget. And am I hitting my targets and whatnot? So I think everyone should track their expenses. And personally, I use Excel, and I think it's what I foresee using in the future.
For sure. And I wanted to ask, do you have a dream brand collaboration in light of this blog that you've created?
So the first video I saw that inspired me to do my blog was Ramit Sethi and the Minimalists, and they were talking on their podcast, and I saw the video version on YouTube. So a dream of mine would to be to collaborate with either the Minimalists or Ramit Sethi himself.
That's so cool. The first one you mentioned, I have not heard of him, so I will have to look him up. And then the Middleists, I have seen them. I actually haven't listened to their podcast yet, but it's come up in my recommendeds, or I've seen their recommendeds on YouTube. So yeah, I'm very curious now. One I personally listened to is Steph and Dead, and I feel like you guys would all get along just based on the personalities and stuff. So I think that could be a cool one as well. Yeah, this is great. Thank you. And are there any specific projects coming up that you'd like our audience to know about?
Not necessarily anything big coming up, but I do recommend that you guys check out my blog. I do post weekly every single Monday. And as I said, I did launch RCS videos recently, so keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, thanks so much. If you don't mind sharing with the audience where they can find you. And yeah.
So you can find me at TheRichCollegeStudent.ca, and you can also find me at TheRichCollegeStudent on Instagram.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Brandon, for sharing your knowledge with our audience today. And we're just so honored to have you at the Okiki podcast. So I'll definitely have all that information of his in the show notes. And be sure to be on the lookout. So if you're a college student that subscribed to me today, this is a great resource for you all. So thanks so much, Brandon.
Thank you.